Good morning, welcome to Innsbruck in Austria. It's race 7 of the BMW IBSF World Cup for bobsleigh and skeleton. First day of action is all about the skeleton, and we start today with the first heat of the women's race at this shortest of all the tracks on tour. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven, alongside me US slider Greg West. Greg, this is a track that everybody comes to learn on, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy track to find speed on.
That's exactly right. The Igls track is known for its for being difficult in its simplicity. Small mistakes on this track add up very quickly. It is very important to have a fast start. We have a short start ramp. Elena Nikitina with a 5.11. I actually saw that start. It was an amazingly fast push. It looks good today. I think we could see her in the ballpark. And the joke is, after the start, just lay there. You're done. It's a push track that just happens to have 14 corners afterwards. Obviously, it's more difficult than that as we're going through turn 3 right now. And we're going to see a couple of trouble spots on this track. If you see, as we go through the upper labyrinth, 4, 5, 6 through here, any touches on the wall will show a major loss in speed as we enter the Kreisel. Coming out of Kreisel, it is difficult sometimes to stay off the left wall, even though our POV hit the right side. And then out of 9 right now, here you're going to see people brushing that left wall going down the straightaway. The tap out of the Kreisel and the tap out of turn 9 are really going to be telltale signs of a run that is going to bleed speed through the bottom of the track.
Through the lower labyrinth and into the finish corner. The skeletons finish just before the bobsleigh do. And then the shortest braking stretch and straight into the tunnel under the ski slope that's right beside the track on the side of the patch on the side of the mountain here in Innsbruck, overlooking the venue for the 64 and 76 Winter Olympic Games.
I think that's a triple word score in Scrabble.
No, not the way I mangled it. Mild morning. The refrigeration's been on hard. It did freeze quite hard last night, so everywhere that looks wet out is in fact sheet ice. It's very glassy, but this track will soften up. There's our hometown queen, Janine Flock. 2 silver medals in the last 2 races here and 2 bronzes in the year before that. And of course, last year when we were here, it was the World Championships. So a big result for her. She's not among the fastest of the starters. And guys like Jacqueline Lölling there, also not among the faster starters. Although she's had 2 wins this season, seems unlikely that we're going to see anybody other than a sprint monster, Greg, really dominating proceedings here.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, though, because we have a couple of powerhouses missing this week. Marina Gilardoni, who is one of our fastest starters on tour, owns a couple of start records, is missing today, I believe, with a bad back. We have Donna Creighton replacing Lizzie Yarnold this week. Lizzie always competitive on this track. So there may be a little bit of parity in the field. We also are missing Anna Fernstad, I believe, has the flu and is back home recovering in Koenigsegg. Hope you're feeling better, Anna. We'll see you, I'm sure, in Koenigsegg in a few weeks.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, we've got 23 women from 13 nations in the field. First led on ice, race 7 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup is the start record holder, Elena Nikitina. Can the Olympic bronze medalist claim her first World Cup win here?
She really got incredibly lucky with the start draw. Going off first, 5:16. I don't see anybody on the start list today that is going to have a faster start time than that. So with the good start speed, good start velocity, if she can put together a pretty clean run and just keep it simple, she's going to be very difficult to beat. We're seeing going through the upper labyrinth here. The ice looks fantastic. It's a little bit humid today. I would not be surprised to see it frost up a little bit. 69.6 going into Kreisel. I may have read that wrong, but looks like a pretty clean run so far. Nice and smooth through a little skid down that straightaway. That's going to hurt her speed just a little bit.
Down through the lower labyrinth and towards the finish line. A very short run here as well. See, actually, she's already leaving marks in the ice from the runners. And it's a 54.31. The track record set by Tina Hermann in last year's Worlds was a 53.74. And it wasn't exactly that much colder either. But that big skid off 9, that might come back to haunt her.
This track, it's interesting. Sometimes you don't see the things that hurt your speed. It's sometimes if you're working too hard. We can see going into Kreisel, she had that small skid there, and then the exit of 9 that we're looking at. She set the line, and it just breaks away a little bit going into 10. Be interesting to see how that time holds up.
Well, she claimed her only ever World Cup win here in 2013. The year before, teammate Olga Potylitsina had done the same. Maria Monteano, she was saying, oh great, I get an early start draw, but I've got a start record holder off in front of me. Well, Maria, 30-year-old from Barcelona, this is her first World Cup season, but she did race here in the World Championships. She's had half a dozen junior races on this track.
Maria's been very lucky in start draws this year. I think she's had 3 or 4 that's been in the top 5. 5:54, so going to be a little behind off the start ramp. Maria not known for being necessarily to win a race on the start ramp, but a good, competent slider, and we'll see. I anticipate a nice, relaxed slide from her.
Well, she was not entirely hopeful of her chances of making the second heat. 23 athletes, only the fastest 20 go through, so she's going to be in the group that are looking to see what some of their close rivals can do.
Nice smooth line on the entrance and exit of 9. A very good line through 9 into 10, and that's going to help her speed at the bottom of the track. There are places here you can build speed. We see her coming through at 72 miles an hour. So
that's only a fraction behind Nikitina, who was 72.2. So she's 0.8 back. A lot of that, the legacy of the difference in the start.
I think she's going to be really happy with that run. She had a better run after the start than Nikitina, and it's showing.
She gave away 3900s in the start. She's only 87 behind at the bottom, so that's a big difference.
We're looking right now at the exit of Kreisel. There is a little bit of push, a whip you can get out of that Kreisel, and you're seeing a nice, smooth, parallel line, and you see her bouncing around on the sled. That shows that she's relaxed. If you're relaxed on the sled, it's going to allow you to breathe speed.
Mass damper. That's what we talk about in Formula One, and that's exactly what you need to be to stop it bouncing around. 32-year-old Renata Khuzina, silver in the Junior Worlds in Sigulda last week. I can't read my own writing, 22. 4 World Cup races last season. She did the North American races when their A team were training back home in Europe. This is her first World Cup race of the season, and she's in place of Junior World Champion Kanakina, who is back home in Moscow.
Good looking start, a small mishap. Looks like she missed her saddle with a 5:42, down on speed just a little bit from her teammate. But once again, this Igls track, you know, if you can stay relaxed, you might be able to drive back some of that deficit just by not driving. It sounds backwards, but it tends to help here.
We always say, like in motorsport, it's not the man who drives the least, the most, who wins. It's the one who drives the least, and this is exactly the same here as well in this sport.
Little high on the entrance to Kreisel, small waves, comes out and taps on the right side. Now what that tells me is she didn't get a very good kick out of the Kreisel, and that's going to hurt her speed at the bottom. Good exit of 9 through the straightaway, and she's putting together a pretty clean run. She's up on speed even with that exit, 116.3 kilometers an hour.
Fastest we've seen so far, so out accelerating a teammate down the bottom because those mistakes were less costly. She's in second.
That's a solid run from the Russian, a little rough in the outrun. We say that the most difficult part of this track is actually getting the sled stopped. It's one of the most treacherous outruns. You have 2 corners to navigate after you cross the finish line.
Most dangerous part of any track is the outrun here. Yeah, a little stumble as she loaded.
That's just going to hurt the start velocity. That's putting horizontal pressure into the groove. Anytime you increase your friction, you're hurting your speed, just like any other form of racing. And that probably shows why her start velocity was down. There we see the brush on the right wall out of the Kreisel, but still a solid run, a very competitive run. We'll easily see her into the second heat with that.
Keaton goes off to see that she's all right. Next up is the USA's Katie Uhlaender, 32-year-old, 10th in the World Championships here last year. And she had 2 third places in the Intercontinental Cup in January last year on this track as well.
Now, Katie's a savvy veteran. She knows the secrets here. She's probably got hundreds of runs down this track. She's coming back from an illness earlier this season. That's showing that 5:48. She's still not quite back to her form. But if anybody in this field can drive around a start time, it's Katie Uhlaender.
Well, my results only go back a decade. She hasn't had a medal in that time, but I wouldn't be at all surprised to find that she had them early in the century.
Katie's one of the fiercest competitors I've ever met on any track, on any day. When she shows up, she has a chance.
5500's back, currently second on the splits.
She's looking nice and relaxed. We're not seeing the typical Katie Uhlaender with the legs splayed out. She has good, her form is good. She's got a nice bounce on the sled, and that's showing that she is relaxed. We're seeing that with the speed. She's a little late in the labyrinth at the bottom, but carrying 1:16.7, the highest speed of the day.
Closes on Nikitina all the way down the track. That's a good run from Katie Uhlaender, 3900's back. And this track should produce some very close racing in terms of times, but Nikitina's start puts you know, that step and a half ahead of everybody.
Yeah, that 5:16 is going to be incredibly difficult to drive around. Although Katie did a great job there of just being relaxed and getting good speed. We're seeing her on the start ramp, still coming back from that sickness. Here in the lower labyrinth, even though she was carrying the most speed, it looked a little wild. Sometimes being wild is fast.
Yeah. Zach Land with the sled. Teammates at one stage. Jacqueline Narraway of Australia, 26-year-old. 17th last year in the World Championships. That's everybody pretty much his most recent race here. And before the Worlds, she came here once previously in the World Cup. So limited experience here, and like Maria Monteano of Spain, she'll be definitely worrying about whether or not she can get a good enough slide in to make the second heat.
See what Jackie can do here on the start. It's been improving over the last couple of years. 5:45, very competitive with what we've seen, minus Nikitina. You know, she's out there in no man's land. Jackie's just quietly been improving over the last 3 or 4 years as a slider. She's very impressive getting down the hill. She's a relaxed slider, a little small brush on the wall there from, I believe, 4 to 5. But we're seeing a very competent slider. She's starting to enter that veteran status where she knows where she needs to do the work. She knows where to let it run. And we're seeing that right here. It's a nice smooth line through 9. She came out with a little bit of pressure attached to her, but she didn't fight it. She didn't fight for a perfect entrance and caused the sled to skid, and that's the reason her speed is still competitive at 1:16.3 through the bottom of the track.
72.3 miles an hour. That was quicker than our race leader, Elena Nikitina, who really bled speed down the bottom. She comes across the line in 3rd place. So Jackie Narraway has 2 of the 3 people behind her already that she needs to guarantee a second heat. That was a nice, tidy-looking slide from the Bromley slider.
I think Jackie's going to be really happy with that. Only 1,800s behind Katie Uhlaender on the Igls track. I think she's going to be very pleased with that. We're seeing her come through turn 10. She's not fighting the sled. She does brush the wall a little bit on the exit, but she's not driving into problems that's going to make it worse. And when you don't fight the sled, it will build speed. The sled is smart. Let it do its thing.
Elena Nikitina, our race leader, 5 of 23 sleds down. Channell's fan club are out in force at the top of the track. Go and have a look at my Twitter feed if you have forgotten what happened to her last year. Year before, it was last year in the Worlds or the year before in the World Cup? Year before in the World Cup. She ran into a track worker's broom a couple of turns into her run. So hopefully no such dramas here for Jane.
Jane's been very fast in training, had the 2nd fastest run in training yesterday, 5:25. That is going to help her cause. She's very competitive with Nikitina. Told me this morning that she thought that the Canadian girls had a chance to sweep this race.
Sweep brooms. You see, she can't get it out of her head.
No, she was making a lot of broom jokes, but she seemed relaxed and jovial, and 5:25 on the start is not going to hurt her cause at all.
Here she comes.
Good line through Kreisel, one of the higher speeds we saw on the exit there. We're going to see her crossing a 9 with a nice and smooth line. Takes the brush on the left, but doesn't skid the sled. That's very important.
61.3, top speed there, 61.5.
Small little brush on the wall, but she's still 72.6, the highest speed we've seen all day from the Canadian.
Tight for the lead, and she's going to take green numbers. Oh, she doesn't. 500s behind, but she is right in contention at the line. She was closing all the way there, and then the final corner. You see, that's the problem. Even with this easy track, every corner can suck a little bit of speed out of the sled.
And if you overanalyze it, you still can't figure out where it went. She had higher speed, she had good lines, maybe she controlled the pressure too much, we don't know. But what I do know is we have a race on our hands between Nikitina and Channell. Jane, known for her starts, all of the Canadians have fast starts. Her and Mimi and Liz can really get after it. This might have been where it went away from her, even though she had high speed. Without that brush on the wall,
yep. She could have been ahead. Laura Deas of Great Britain, another fast starter. 28-year-old was 11th in the Worlds here last season. Best here was 6th place in February's race in 2015. She was 3rd in the ICC a couple of years earlier.
Good looking push, powerful load step. We'll see what she can do down the start ramp. Wow, faster than Jane, 5:23. Good looking push from Laura. That's gonna put her into the mix. And now the question is, can she stay relaxed and not overdrive it to get to the bottom? That's the question with everybody on this track.
Best result this season, she's had 3 6th place finishes. Let's see if she can fight herself in among the top 3. Second on the split times.
She dropped 200s between the last 2 splits. She's a good slider, good equipment, takes that brush on the left side coming out of the Kreisel. That is not going to help, but a good line through 9 has her head nice and low. Good aerodynamic form through the bottom of the track where you're at the highest speeds. Down a little bit though.
Yeah, big clonk on the wall out of 9 that's where all the energy's gone, isn't it? And across the line, 3rd place.
Of course, Laura not in any danger of not making the second heat. I think, she could be a force to be reckoned with and look to move up in the second heat, though. She'll fix that exit of Kreisel, stay off that wall, and with that start time, she's dangerous.
Yeah, got to be in contention. She knows it went wrong out of corner 9. What about this start area, though? This is flatter than anywhere, right?
This is one of the flatter start ramps. It's not as bad as La Plan or Altenburg, but it's the crest where the track starts to go downhill is way out there, and it's when you're pushing a sled bent over with your hand 8 inches off the ground, it's difficult. We're seeing her come through the labyrinth there. It's a solid run with a couple of small mistakes, but those mistakes add up.
8th of our starters is Annie O'Shea. World Championships last year, finished in 5th position. And she hasn't got her electrifying start this season either.
5:33 from Annie. I'm very impressed with that. She's had kind of an up and down season. Started out hot, had a great U.S. selections, and has had some good and not as good results. But she's happy this morning. She looks very relaxed, and hopefully that turns into a solid result here. Good looking lines, and with a competitive start, it's looking good so far. Down 3/10 going into the Kreisel.
She's saying this morning she made a tiny adjustment after the final day of training, just put a little bit more rock into the sled because she thought the ice was going to be a bit colder and harder.
Taking that tap on the left side out of turn 9, but she doesn't skid the sled. Looks like building pretty decent speed. 72.4 miles an hour, one of the higher speeds we've seen all day. This is a good-looking slide from Annie.
Another top 3 run, and she will come across the line in 3rd place, so we are starting to rack them up. It looked for a little moment early on in the run as though Nikitina would be head and shoulders above everybody else, but we are starting to rack them up now. Top 5 covered by 0.4 of a second. There is room for a few more in there as well.
Looks like she hit her shoulder a little bit on the wall there. She looks pretty happy with it, though. That's good to see. Annie O'Shea that's smiling is Annie O'Shea that goes fast. We're seeing that brush on the left wall out of turn 9. We're going to see a lot of that today, but it's those that don't skid when they hit the wall that are going to come down faster.
And now they don't get squished on the sled. Yeah, good Worlds here, 5th place. Her best ever World Cup race here is 7th. Next up is our world champion, Tina Hermann of Germany. She took the gold in the individual and she was part of the winning team for Germany in the teams competition. So double gold medalist last February here and 5th here in 2015, her only World Cup race on this track. I kind of forget that Tina Hermann has not been around very long because she was such a dominant force last year.
Yeah, but she came on quickly, 5:43. It looks like she stumbled a little bit on the 4th or 5th step. Might be interesting to go back and take a look at that. I thought that she might start a little bit quicker. She's down on start velocity early. Now, if anything, though, Tina can drive, and the Germans are known for breeding big speed at the bottom of the hill. Her teammate Lölling makes her entire career on that.
Yeah, she wouldn't be the first and she won't be the last, but none of them have really done well on this track because it's so short. Marion Trott never took a medal here. Yes, in fact, the only German to medal here in years has been Anja Huber, and that was when she had the fastest start in the field.
Tina had the fastest speed in Kreisel, 99.5 on the exit of turn 10. This is big speed. Wow, 74 miles an hour from Tina. Just like we were saying, the Germans can build speed at the bottom.
And finally, she takes the lead. Well, she was coming and coming, just as we saw a little earlier on from Jane Channell, but she held the speed at the bottom. That's how she did it in the World Championships.
That's a very impressive run from Tina to come back from a 3/10 start deficit to drive around and then gap Nikitina by 1400ths. That's huge. We did see a little stumble on the start. I think second heat, you'll probably see her start time drop a little bit. But with speed like this coming into the Kreisel, we'll see that nice high line that shows she was really cooking when she arrived. She was over 70 kilometers an hour when she got there. No one's been in the ballpark.
Tina Hermann with the lead of the race, the world champion. Next up, Mirela Rahneva, never raced here before. This is her first World Cup season. I can't find any junior race results from Mimi here. Basically, she's been growing up in North America, and this is her first season in Europe.
Mimi told me this morning this would be her 7th and then 8th trip down the track ever.
So that's training and then the race.
The good news is she can start. So.
Oh yeah, she can start. So this is our World Cup rookie Mirela Rahneva from Canada. Won in St. Moritz, going away by nearly 2 seconds. And what a great start. Outstarts the Olympic bronze medalist. No, I beg your pardon, outstarts our race leader, doesn't outstart Nikitina.
Now, Mimi's Mimi's really come on this season, you know, a couple of times on the podium. And she's, I think, slowly has figured out that she's really good at this sport. I think everybody knew. It just took her a second to maybe to realize it herself. But still in green numbers, coming down through the exit of Kreisel, holding that 2/10 lead.
The leg action getting into the Kreisel. Not bad out of 9. She's still in the lead of the race.
Small skid 9 to 10. I don't see that affecting her huge speed. 73.6 miles an hour, second fastest speed. I think we will see her take the lead.
Wow. What a run from Mirela Rahneva. She was 2100s up almost all the way down the track. Leads the world champion by 1400ths of a second.
54.03 is fast. I don't care who you are. That's a great looking run from Mimi. And this is what's interesting about this. Mimi is known for her starts, but while a very competitive start with that 5.29, there was a deficit. She drove around the field, including the Olympic bronze medalist and the reigning world champion. We see her come out of her exit of Kreisel, 9:10. I mean, that was textbook.
Well, she's all smiles. First 10 sleds are down in our field of 23. Mirela Rahneva of Canada, the leader from Tina Hermann and Elena Nikitina. Elizabeth Vache's rookie season was very much the way Mirela Rahneva's has been, where she came in wide-eyed and unexpecting of anything and posted race wins. Then a horrible year last year. She's come back with 2 wins this season.
5:41 from Liz, a competitive start time with the field. Not exactly where she was a couple of years ago, but with that Canadian start facility, she's going to get it back for an Olympic year. We're seeing some small waves through turn 3, so she's kind of taking the long way down the track, but she looks relaxed. Sometimes letting the sled go is going to be what breeds the most speed.
6 in the worlds here last year, 70 kilometers an hour, 43.5. That's the second quickest into the Kreisel.
Big speed from Liz. We'll see if she can carry it through the bottom of the hill. She's down 2/10 on her teammate, but a solid looking run. More big speed on the exit of on the 9-10 straight. And good looking lines.
Yeah, 1:18.6, 73.7. That's second fastest speed. How much does she close? She'll be about 2/10 behind, quarter of a second back in 3rd place, and 300ths ahead of Elena Nikitina. So 3 Canadians in the top 5 sleds right now.
That was a great example of letting the sled go and not being too picky and fighting for perfect lines. Liz is a veteran now. She knows even if she doesn't exactly have the perfect line, to let it go, as we're seeing on the exit of turn 12 there. It doesn't matter if your leg flies up a little bit, if it's getting a little squirrely. As long as the runners are pointed straight, you can still go fast. So a veteran slide from Liz.
After a couple of Canadians, let's go back to Jacqueline Lölling, junior world champion in 2014 and 15. She was third here in the junior worlds in 2012. In last year's world championships, the German girl was in 9th place, just 21 years old, runner-up in last year's World Cup standings to her teammate Tina Hermann, but she's our points leader with 2 wins already this season.
This is going to be a difficult track for Jackie because she's not known for her start speed, but she does build great speed down the track. She has that long, lean, aerodynamic frame, and she has the ability to close late if the track is long enough. So we're seeing she's already down on speed a little bit. She's back. I'm going to say it's going to stretch up to close to a half second already. Now we're going to watch those numbers drop about the time she comes through the exit of Kreisel. She's perfect on the sled, low, feet together, great aerodynamic form, and that's shown by the fastest speed going into Kreisel, 70.3 kilometers an hour. Good-looking lines from the German, a little early into 9, a little bit of drama there. That's going to cost her some speed. She was up on everybody. Still respectable through the lower labyrinth, though, but I think she's going to wish she had that back.
Yeah. Half a second back at the line. And she was 9th in the worlds here. That is not likely to be improved on, I don't think, too much. And that's a little bit of a disappointing first slide from her.
Something we're not really used to. You don't see many mistakes from Jackie coming down the track. If we see the entrance of turn 9, if that picture comes up, we'll see her here on the exit of Kreisel. At this point, things were going very well. She's nice and relaxed on the sled, feet pointed, perfect entrance into 8. Oh, she got bumped away. I stand corrected. But what we're seeing here, entrance to turn 9, she hits that wall, it pushes her away and causes the sled to spike like that. When the sled spikes up in that corner, that's a lot of energy that is lost, and when you lose energy, you lose speed.
Still the second youngest athlete in the field. Janine Flock of Austria, the most experienced on this track, surely. 5th in the Junior Worlds in 2012. She took silver in last year's World Championships and a team bronze. And she had silver the last couple of seasons, 2 bronzes the years before that on this track.
5:47 from Janine, good-looking start. Competitive with kind of the heart of the field. She has about 1 million runs down this track. If anybody can squeeze some speed out of this upper portion in the Kreisel, it's her.
2500s back from an 1800s deficit at the start. She shouldn't allow the gap to get any larger than that, as you say. She knows this track intimately, and here she comes, bringing it back already.
Oh, anything over 70 kilometers an hour going into the Kreisel shows that you had a good top. She's already cut the lead down to 2/10. Looks like a good line. Oh, big skid going 9 to 10, but 100K.
Fastest speed of all, and you can now hear the sled whistling down the track. 1:19.4, 74.2 miles an hour. Quicker than anybody, closing the gap from 16 to 900s at the line. Well, in the World Championships last year, she was second fastest in the first heat, and then a bunch of top 6 slides. Still ended up with the silver medal.
Finding that Austrian time warp to the top of the track. We saw
it's
some of
the shortcut.
She knows how to get down. We saw one of our fastest speeds through the Kreisel and then the fastest speed through the 9-10 straightaway. I think if the sled doesn't break away on her, she might have the lead. We're seeing it right now, 9 to 10, it's just that little skid. But a great run from Janine. Here at home, always fun to do it in front of your friends and family, and most importantly in this sport, sponsors.
Yep. Little high exit there. You saw air under the runners, which means that she hits a little harder. Schönes Geburtstag, Herr Braun. So Lelde Priedulena, 23-year-old from Latvia, junior world champion 2016 in women's skeleton.
I wonder if she wishes she was a year younger and could have had junior worlds at home.
Yeah, that would have been a real high for her.
Good looking start though, 5:37, that puts her in the field, and Lelde's come along. She's got the support of Dinah Stukers and learning from Martins and Thomas. These are not bad guys to learn how to slide from, and it's starting to show in her driving. Yeah,
she kind of had a couple of up and down seasons, didn't she? But this year particularly, she's had a couple of 5th positions. She just drifted out of the medals in Koenigsegg.
Good looking slide through the middle of the track, and that's where you find the speed. One of the best exits that we've seen through 9, but I think she might have worked too hard for it. She's down a little bit on speed. Still a very competitive run from Lelde. I think she's going to be pleased with it.
7th place on the splits. And that's where she is at the line, 54.50, ahead of Jacqueline Lölling, the World Cup points leader, and just behind Jane Channell. Ahead of Annie O'Shea, Laura Deas, Katie Uhlaender. So lots of experience behind her. She is definitely starting to come of age, Lelde.
We're seeing her here on the exit of Kreisel. You see the sled dip. When her head dips like that, you know that it got a good centrifugal push and a great entrance into turn 10. Or sorry, I apologize, turn 8. She found good speed in the middle of the track. I just wonder if maybe she worked a little too hard to get it.
Next up from the Netherlands, 23-year-old Kimberley Bos. 7th in the Junior Worlds just a week ago in Sigulda, Latvia. 2nd in the Junior Worlds 2016, and in fact, she raced in the Junior World Championships here at Igls in 2012, driving a bobsleigh for the Netherlands. She's had Intercontinental Cup wins here. She was 8th in the World Championships last February.
5:34 start from Kim. One thing when you're watching Kim on the start ramp is how linear she is. There's not very much side-to-side movement. She's very efficient with her steps, and that helps her push fast. She doesn't necessarily look like she's moving very fast, but she's getting after it.
700ths away. This is a very speedy run from Kimberley Bos.
Leading just a bit, still almost 70 kilometers an hour in Kreisel. A little toe action on the exit, that's going to cause her to bleed some speed. Down through 9, another really good line, but once it's kind of like Lelde, I think she may have worked a little too hard for it.
Yeah, gap's gone out from 500s to 4400s, and that will grow through the lower labyrinth and to the line, 11th position. Well, whatever it was that made her a speed merchant last February just eluded her today.
You know, sometimes you just go back and look at a run and you don't know where it went. There were no major glaring errors there. Still, I mean, sitting 11th, not a bad place to be.
Yep.
Exit of Kreisel, you see she got some push out of it. There's no skidding. That's where you want to find her speed. That's what we didn't actually see from the other view. She actually, the sled skipped and skidded into turn 8, and that will wipe away speed. We couldn't see that from the first angle.
Backing it in. So Kimberley Bos, as Mirela Rahneva is still our race leader. First 15 sleds are down. Next up, Kendall Wesenberg. Europa Cup race here in January 2015. She did the Worlds here in February 2016 when she finished 15th. And she took a silver medal in St. Moritz. Now that's a big boost to her, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that was I think not a bad surprise, a great surprise to see Kendall actually pop up. That was her kind of track though, a long gliding track. And if there's one thing Kendall does very well, it is stay relaxed on the sled and let it build speed on its own. So 5:51 start time, she's a little bit back, but she's another one of those Jacqueline Lölling types that builds speed late. So I'm sure we'll see her bring it back a little bit.
Before that, she's got to be nice and clean, exiting the Kreisel in corner 9.
Ooh, brushes that left wall on the exit of Kreisel. That's going to cost her some speed. She's back 5600s, coming through 9. No skid, but she's going to be late into turn 10, and that's going to hurt her speed a little bit more.
It'll flop off 10 into the lower labyrinth, and it's very skiddy. Hasn't quite got enough control. Maybe going for speed above control. 16th of our 16 sliders, and that leaves her in the drop zone for maybe not making the top 20.
Yeah, I don't think Kendall's going to be incredibly happy with that run. A couple of small mistakes, but that 5:51 on the start ramp on the short Igls track is incredibly difficult to overcome. So you come out of Kreisel, and when you brush that left wall and then have a big toe and a skid, it kills all of the energy in the sled.
Yeah. The energy is in the body as well. Anytime it's going sideways, it's not helping you go further forwards. 16 sleds down. Next up is Russia's Maria Orlova. Didn't do the World Championships here last year. Her last 3 World Cup races, 4th in 2015, but before that, a pair of bronze medal results. So we know she's got the potential, and the smile on her face shows us that she's in a very good place right now with her sliding.
Powerful looking start from Maria, 5.30. That puts her right in the mix. Veteran slider. Let's see if she can navigate this track without doing a whole lot. I think the last couple sliders we've seen, those that are working a little bit too hard to find the lines. It's a problem I've struggled with my entire career, trying to be perfect. Jacqueline tells me all the time, just let it go. Maria doing a pretty good job of just that right now.
Close, 1500ths away from only 100th behind Mirela Rahneva at the start. Like her teammate Elena Nikitina, a one-time World Cup winner.
Good looking exit, 9 to 10, keeps the sled planted on that right wall. The runner's pretty much dead straight. She's a little late in the labyrinth here. We'll see if a leg flies.
Down on speed by a mile an hour and a half at the bottom, so that's going to open the gap right up 8th place.
Big hit on the wall right there at the finish line. Those never feel good.
No.
See if that hurt her shoulder a little bit. This braking stretch on this track can be quite treacherous. It's once again, it's for those that may have just joined us, the most difficult part of this track is actually getting the sled stopped. We're seeing her on the start here. Good looking, powerful start. She's known for being a powerful athlete. And that is, that's focus when you can take your hands completely off the sled and then dive onto a T-tray while sprinting at full speed.
While still sprinting, accelerating hard.
See the exit of turn 14, hitting the left wall right before the timing eye. You're going uphill there. Anytime you touch the wall going uphill, that's an exponential increase in friction, and that's going to slow you down.
Joska Le Cok in the Netherlands, 15th here in the World Championships last year. And her World Cup results 13th, 18th, 20th the last 3 years.
I'm hoping to see Joska have a good result here. She's having a pretty good season so far. 5.44, so a little back on the start, but she's got a bunch of runs down this track. We'll see what she can do. That brush on the left wall between 1 and 2, though, is not going to help, especially with the deficient start time.
10th place in St. Moritz with her and Kimberley Bos both in the top 10, the first time for Dutch skeleton.
They were incredibly excited.
Yeah, rightly so.
Down a little bit on speed, 69.3, and then the brush on the left wall out of Kreisel. And it's just these small little mistakes on a track like Igls where the field is so tight add up very quickly.
She's currently 15th on the splits, just behind Jacqueline Narraway and ahead of Renata Khuzina of Russia. And at the line, she's in the race, 55.01, 16th position. That's what she needs. So down on the bubble, Kendall Wesenberg and Monteano from the USA and Spain.
I think Joska's going to kind of wish she had that back, especially those small mistakes at the top of the track between turns 1 and 2. When you touch the wall up there, as we're going to see here, this small brush, it doesn't look like much, but when you're going that slow, that little bump really pulls your speed back. Going into turn 8, a little bit late, you see the sled spike up early there, and once again, when you spike the sled up early, that's just the energy that's going up instead of forward, and it's the wrong way.
Donna Creighton returns to the World Cup, first World Cup race for her. Lizzie Yarnold, her teammate, is back home with a sore back, taking a couple of weeks off before the World Championships. And good to see Caleb Smith as well, Great Britain's development coach for skeleton. He's been on the Intercontinental Cup with Donna and the rest of the athletes. You see Jerry Rice as well, I think, bringing some ICC speeds to the British team.
I've been on tour with Donna the entire season, and the major change I've seen this year is she has a smile on her face all the time. And a happy Donna is a relaxed Donna, and a relaxed Donna can cruise. 5.38, she has a very competitive start time. I look to see Donna, she's kind of my dark horse today, to really turn some heads.
Best World Cup result here in 2011. She finished in 6th place. She was 18th in the Worlds last year.
2/10 back as she's getting ready to go into Kreisel. Watching her Kreisel, if she comes out clean, I think that she's going to be in good shape. Little down on speed though, only 69 kilometers an hour going in.
Looking very relaxed, no skids or slides, no toe work.
Small little drift on the exit of turn 9. No glaring mistakes, but looks like she might just be another one of those that's working the sled a little bit. Generating good speed late, though.
Yeah, still 2.2 miles an hour down on top speed at the bottom of the track, though, so 16th position. Did she just go a little conservative, going for too much control? 54.95 slide. And she will make the second heat, and from there she can maybe free the sled up a little bit more for speed in the second heat.
You might have said it exactly right. It's warm today, it's very humid. We're gonna see this ice be a little bit softer than it's been during training, and if she went on more of the conservative side, she'd have a little more grip, and then when you have that much grip, that's more friction.
Thanks for your support and love you lot.
20th of our 23 sleds is Belgium's Kim Meylemans, youngest girl in the field at just 20, 14th in the World Championships, and she's had a slew of Europa Cup podiums here over the last 3 years, so she does know how to find speed on this track.
Kim just had the worst luck ever to start the season. She just needs to hit the reset button and bring it back. She's an incredibly talented driver, has the best form of anybody on tour. I don't think you could stick a piece of paper between her head and the ice. Look how low it is as she's going through the upper portions of this track.
Well, she started as a teammate to Tina Hermann and Jacqueline Lölling. She went to the same Christopher Schuler in Koenigsee at the same time with them, and she grew up through the German program with them.
Good looking speed going into Kreisel, a nice smooth line, 8 and 9. She's gonna tap on the wall, but she doesn't skid. She's down a little bit on speed, but a pretty good run coming from Kim right now. I think she's gonna be happy with it. Wow, 73.3 miles an hour through the bottom.
Yep, it's about the third fastest speed, and she comes across the line in 8th position. That's a really strong run, and exactly what we expect to see from Kim Meylemans.
That's something Kim is capable of day in and day out. When you have the beginning of the season that she had, you know, losing the sled in Whistler, it really weighs on your confidence. But once you get the confidence back, she is an excellent pilot. She just drove around a 5:45 start deficit to put it in the top 10. Exit of turn 9, we're gonna see that leg fly up a little bit, and then the small brush on the left-hand side of the wall. But what you don't see is the runner sideways. It's the people that take that tap and kick the sled sideways really exacerbate the problem.
Mirela Rahneva, the leader, 20 sleds down. The field is full, 3 more to come. So now it is dog eat dog. And at the bottom of the pile, Kendall Wesenberg. Nozomi Kimura of Japan, last World Cup here was back in 2014. She finished in 18th place. Didn't do the World Championships last year either. So not a lot of top flight experience here recently.
So Nozomi's been around for ever. Good start though, 5:48. I mean, she's an excellent slider, taught by Koshi. Anytime you do what that guy says, you're going to be successful. I'd like to see her sneaking into the top 15 here today.
Well, we just saw Kim Meylemans from the start, only 300s quicker, come down into 8th place, so it is possible.
We're seeing good lines from Nozomi. Doesn't look like she's working too much.
Half a second back though, so again, has she got a little too much control, or is the track starting to soften?
I think if you see some rain in the side of the pictures right now, that's not going to help her cause a whole lot. A little late into the labyrinth. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think she went a little bit conservative and might be driving a little too much on top of that, and that's going to pull her back.
And she drifts out of the race, 55.32. Kendall Wesenberg still in 20th place as Nozomi Kimura falls out of contention. So she will not get a second heat. 2 more to come. And for both our remaining ladies, it is going to be an uphill struggle.
We're watching her go into Kreisel right now, and you see the sled break away at the last moment. And that's just, anytime you're sideways, it's like turning sideways on hockey skates. You're just going to try to stop the sled. A couple of small skids really add up on this Igls track, especially when the ice is getting softer.
From the Virgin Islands, Katie Tannenbaum. Alexander Auer, who was forerunning a little earlier, holding the sled. His brother Florian races in the men's competition coming up later today. His father was one of the standouts in the early days of skeleton.
Katie's going to have a little bit of a hard time here. She's not known for her big starts, and with a field as tight as we have today, with an efficient start, it's really going to be difficult. 5.62, so she's behind. See if she can be nice and relaxed and drive her way into the top 20.
Well, that's only 0.03 of a second slower than Jacqueline Lölling, who's in 10th position. So again, if she gets the run of the day, then she will go in. And it's somehow unlocking that. When you have fewer runs on all the tracks, then you tend to have less experience. And with experience comes the speed, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. We see a big hit on the left wall out of the Kreisel. We saw a couple of waves going through there. Everybody else running it pretty flat. And the brush on the left wall going out, or coming out of 9 isn't going to help her a whole lot. Down on speed, only 94.4 kilometers an hour. I think Kendall's safe for another, at least one more sled on the bubble in 20th.
Katie Tannenbaum with 4 ICC races and the World Championships last year under her belts. This 6th race weekend, but 22nd place at the line.
Yeah, with that start time, it's you have to have, as you said, the run of the day to bring it back. Luckily for Lölling, you know, she had an incredibly good run, but this hit, big hit, picks her hips off the sled. All of the energy that you built in Kreisel is gone. What you could use to accelerate you, in her case, actually decelerated the sled on the exit.
1 to go, and it is a World Cup debutante, Johanna Balasser, 21-year-old from Innsbruck, Austria. She's had 2 Intercontinental Cup races here and half a dozen Europa Cup races. A former basketball player. And Greg, you know her from racing ICC, right?
That's right. I've raced with Johanna a couple of times on Europa Cup and ICC. I talked to her earlier today, and she said, don't be too mean. She's happy. Her goal today is to sneak it in the top 20 and get a second run. The good news is, this is her home track.
Yeah, she has a shot, definitely. And, you know, making your debut on a track you know intimately with the people around you, you know well, that's got to lessen that, you know, that nervous effect as well.
Yeah, the 23rd best start time is going to be difficult to drive around even with that intimate knowledge.
Kendall Wesenberg will be watching this intently as well because Johanna Balasser is the last threat to her. 23rd, she's up to 22nd at the Kreisel.
Pretty decent speed, 69.2, but she touches and a big skid going into turn 8. It's going to make it interesting. And another hit on the exit of turn 9. She's going to be down on speed.
Yep.
I think Kendall is going to survive being on the bubble.
Still in 22nd place. So Johanna Balasser, a couple of errors creeping in that she probably hasn't made in 4 or 5 years, and unfortunately she will not make the second heat. Welcome to the World Cup nevertheless, and she knows the approved route of slowing down here in Innsbruck.
Still a smile on her face, though. She's happy to have a good time. We're seeing on the exit of Kreisel, you see that big wave and then that hit and skid. When the sled breaks away like that and actually gets tossed into the air, that's energy going every way but forward. When energy's going the wrong way, you're not building speed.
Well, she's still got a big beaming smile, and I think we might be seeing a little bit more of her in the future. So she loves skeleton a heck of a lot more than basketball. Well, you know, there we go.
I think she stands at about 5'4", so that's a good thing.
Yeah, not a bad thing. And at the other end of the field is another girl who started around 5'4", Mirela Rahneva, our winner by a country mile in St. Moritz. She leads the field here. It's not a big margin, just 0.09 of a second over hometown queen Janine Flock, with Tina Hermann in 3rd and a tight battle behind. Greg West, the first step is done for Mirela Rahneva, but look how close it is. There is definitely no relaxing when Janine Flock is right behind you here in Innsbruck.
That's exactly right. 0.09 is nothing. You can't blink your eye that fast. And also down 4th through 8th, covered by just a couple of tenths. And oh wow, 8th through 16th, because flip a coin.
And that's the nature of this track. And so we're going to see people improving and people dropping 3 or 4 spots with just one tiny error. So Renata Khuzina makes it in. Donna Creighton, Joska Le Cok, Monteano and Kendall Wesenberg. Nozomi Komuro, Johanna Balassa and Katie Tannenbaum will join us and you on the sidelines for the second and deciding heat. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. So join Greg West, me and the rest of the crew here. We'll be back in 40 minutes at midday Central European Time, 11 GMT. Join us please. Until then, goodbye from Innsbruck.